Welcome to Master Student, where knowledge is true wealth. Welcome to Master Student, and today we will be building on a James Baldwin interview by Nikki Giovanni. This interview took place in 1971, and a lot of the topics mentioned in this interview I feel are relevant in today's society. So I will be showing the correlation of the various topics to now and also to self, most importantly. So showing you how these different Q&A questions and answers correlate to not only now from a holistic standpoint, but also on a personal level. But that's pretty much it. Let's get into the interview and let's learn.
There's something that eventually I'm sure we're going to hit. So we're just going to have to work it out.
All right.
Okay, but let's say, with Everybody's Protest novel, which I think came out in 48.
It came out in 49, 49, something like that,
Yeah.
yes.
When I was 6.
Oh, Jesus.
I thought it was a magnificent piece. As I went to first grade, I said, my God, somebody's really talking. How do you stand in relationship, say, to that novel now?
To that, to Everybody's Protest novel,
yes.
that essay now.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about, let's say, the younger writers, of which I'm one? And within that context, are we, in your opinion, like moving ahead? Are we moving out of that basic set of assumptions?
I think it's very difficult for me to say it, because it can be misunderstood. But you have no idea, and I can never express to you to what extent I depend on you, or I mean you, Nikki Giovanni, and also your generation.
My generation, yeah.
I can even say you have no idea, and I can never express that either, because in a way I have no right to say it, but I'm very proud of you. Something has moved, things move in a very strange way, and maybe inexpressible. Mm-hmm. If I wrote that essay today, for example, I would be writing a very different essay out of a very different kind of problem. Mm-hmm. I think that without quite realizing it, and no matter what our hang-ups are as of this very moment, the hang-up of my generation or the hang-up of your generation, mm-hmm. And the terrible situation in which all of us find ourselves, one thing has changed, and that is the attitude that black people have toward themselves. Now, within that change, I don't want to be romantic about it, a great deal of confusion and incoherence, will go on for a very long time, very. But that was inevitable. Mm-hmm. That moment had to come too, And Everybody's Protest novel, I was trying for myself, after all, first of all, to elucidate for myself a theology and the effects of a theology, which I, at that moment, realized I carried in myself. Mm-hmm. It was not the world that was my oppressor only. Because what the world does to you, if the world does it to you long enough and effectively enough, you begin to do it to yourself. Mm-hmm. You become a collaborator, an accomplice of your own murderers, because you believe the same things they do. They think it's important to be white, and you think it's important to be white. Mm-hmm. They think it is shameful to be black, and you think it is shameful to be black. And you have no corroboration around you of any other sense of life. All those corroborations which are around you are, in terms of the white majority standards, so deplorable, they frighten you to death. You don't eat watermelon. You get so rigid you can't dance. You can hardly move by the time you're 14. Mm-hmm. You're always scrubbed and shining. A parody of God knows what, because no white person's ever been, as clean as you have been forced to become.
Yeah, that's true.
And you got somehow to begin to break out of all of that and try to become yourself. Mm-hmm. It's hard for anybody, but it's very hard if you're born black in a white society. Hard because you've got to divorce yourself from the standards of that society. Mm-hmm. The danger of your generation, if I may say.
I just want to build on something the God was just building on with Nikki not too long ago. And this is in my own words based on what he still talking about right now, is if you allow the external world to dictate the internal world, you are in a state of death. That's in my own words based on what he just said. And death, true death, is the lack of knowing not only who you are, but what you are. But you can't fully grasp or understanding of not only who you are, but what you are if you're focused on external things and allowing those external factors to dictate the internal. In other words, you're being reactionary rather than being the cause. See, when I say I'm God or Titan or a Naga or whatever, niggas, we have so many different names and people stick to these identities for who knows fucking what. I could break that down, but that's folly. Whatever reason you become formless. You know what I'm saying? Don't identify with anything. Well, I can't tell you how to be. You do as you please. I don't identify with anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even about to go on that. Just understand, when you become formless, you become everything. But when you allow the external world, which is an illusion, to dictate the internal world, your mind, how you perceive different things, not different things in life, you allow an illusion to dictate how you think, how you move. You're constantly being pulled back and forth on the pendulum. You're not polarizing your position as God. You know what I'm saying? If you identify as God or a goddess or a Kemite, whatever the fuck it may be, I'm not finna get hung up on that, because ultimately, after flesh, what are you? You know what I'm saying? God is a concept that was created by man. So even saying I'm God, I'm still limiting myself in thought. Even if I was to be an armor Titan. Titan, that's a concept created by man. Any concept created by man is a limitation. It's best to just be, I am who I am. But I just wanted to speak on that particular part. I'm not going to take too much time from the God. I reiterate what I got from, maybe that was about 4 minutes of him speaking his piece. If you allow the external world, which is the physical world, the material world, the illusionary world, to dictate the internal world, you know what I'm saying? You are in a state of death. Because you're allowing something that doesn't even fucking exist to dictate your being. I'm gonna let the God build.
Oh. No, we will pursue this length if you like.
Go on.
Is to substitute one romanticism for another. Mm-hmm. You know, because in fact, these categories are, to put it too simply, but you know, with a certain brutal truth, these categories are commercial categories.
It's true.
You know, there was a reason that when you and I were slaves, my son.
I just gotta stop it right there. He about to speak his piece. He, like he said, when you and I were slaves, before he even speak his piece, to be a slave physically, you have to first be a slave mentally. Because it don't matter how many shackles you put on my fucking body. If I'm not mentally a slave and I'm not accepting what the outcomes are of my slavery, I was never a slave. Excuse me if that sounds a little confusing. If I don't accept being physically in bondage as a slave and I constantly rebel, I am not a slave. But if I submit to my oppressor, I am a slave. If I choose not to change or rebel against that which is keeping me oppressed, then you are not a slave. Slave is a mentality. If I choose to constantly worship the body and worship things of flesh, then I am a slave to flesh. I am a slave to Allah. Arm, leg, arm, head. You know what I'm saying? You do not want to be a slave, period. If I have to give a fucking, if I have to constantly pray to, I don't give a fuck who it is, whoever you praying to. If I have to pray to somebody in order to get something in return, you are a fucking slave. If I'm bending over backwards going to work every day and not actually putting together a plan to eventually have some sense of freedom from this oppressor that I call money, the dollar, currency in general, you are a slave. Because you're not changing your behavior to leave a certain circumstance. It's the mindset. If your mind is always on a program and you stick to that fucking program, that paradigm, then you are a fucking slave. Slavery is a mindset. I think I heard Kanye West say slavery was a choice. It's a choice based on that alone. Because people were afraid of what may happen to their flesh, slavery continued to happen. See, when you view your flesh as something that's grotesque or an abomination, something that holds the soul, holds your essence in bondage for a certain period in time, you don't value this. You value the hidden God, that which is unseen and unheard. But I'm not finna go into science on that, but just showing you that even flesh, you can become a slave to it. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to die. A lot of motherfuckers didn't want to die. Death is the ultimate salvation. Now, have discernment when I say that. You know what I'm saying? Have discernment when I say everything. But death is the ultimate salvation. Everything in this reality is constantly going through a process of regeneration and degeneration. You think that's life? Where I come from, not the flesh, the motherfucker speaking through it. Where I come from, that doesn't exist. It's boundless bliss. Slavery is a thought in a place of realms, in a place of a lower realm. Put it like that. The physical. It's within dimensions. That's the only place slavery exists. Within places within dimensions. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not gonna drag this out. Whatever the God's about to say, I'm gonna build from that point as well. But just keep in mind that slavery starts in the mind. Let the God build.
Produced out of your body is by definition a slave. Mm-hmm. But the master's son also produced out of your body, depending on his color. If he was light enough, he could live in the big house. And if he wasn't, he took his condition from the condition of his mother.
He was still a slave, though.
He was a slave. He was a slave. He was a slave because even though he might be the master's son, the master could make money off of his son. Mm-hmm. The whole institution was threatened if a slave woman could produce a free man.
Of course.
And the dilemma begins there. Do you see what I mean?
I don't see why it's a dilemma. If a slave woman could produce a free man, that
a slave woman was forbidden
that means anything.
A slave woman was forbidden by law. I said the reasons are commercial, to produce a free man, because once you have a free man out of the body of a slave, you no longer have a slave.
That's true.
You know, but it's very hard to recognize that the standards which have almost killed you are really mercantile standards. They're based on cotton, they're based on oil, they're based on peanuts, they're based on profits.
Yeah, to this day.
To this hour.
Yeah.
Which the church sanctifies.
But the church is commercial.
It's when you begin to realize all of that, which is not easy, that you begin to break out of the culture which has produced you and discover the culture which really produced you. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
What really brought you where you are. When you're in trouble, when I'm in trouble, I do not sing a Doris Day at Tin Pan Alley tune. You find yourself, humming and moaning, something which your great grandfathers did. No.
That has to do with us.
No, that has to do with us.
Yeah.
And what it's all about is the attempt now to excavate something which has been buried. Mm-hmm. Which you contain and I contain, and which your kid contains, and which has got to carry, which one has a hand down the line for the sake of your kid and for the sake of future generations, and even for the sake of white people who have not the remotest idea what this means. Because we have the edge over the people who think of themselves as white, and that we have never been deluded into believing what they believe. And that sounds like a contradiction.
Yeah.
But in fact, you watch the man you work for. You have to watch him. You don't know you're watching him.
You're watching him.
You're watching him. But he's not watching you. He thinks he knows who you are or what you are. Mm-hmm. You don't know who he is because your life is in his hands. And you have to watch him, because if you don't watch him, you might have lived from Monday till Tuesday. It's as simple as that. And without knowing you know him. He can't fool you.
I'm not at all. I mean, the civil rights movement, I came up in the 60s, which is like way after everybody else. But we always assumed that we knew white people. That we really sort of like understood them. And I felt...
I think I built on this with the God not too long ago. Black, Negro, Asiatic, gods, goddesses, I don't know what you niggas want to call yourself, man. You know what I'm saying? But people who look similar to me, put it like that. You have been studied for many years, and that's the point that Baldwin is making. You have been studied. We could look at it from a job perspective, an industrial perspective, but just holistically. Anybody who doesn't look like you already has a certain expectations of certain shit that you may or may not do based on various things. It could be things that's said and seen in the media from people who look like you. Stereotype instantly created. You know what I'm saying? Just based on really statistics on what the majority of people who look like you are doing. Then it might be based on what you wear, what you say. You're always being judged. But what Baldwin is saying, because you're always being judged, your moves are predictable, because it's typically in the pattern when you are the one who is oppressed. And I definitely agree with that perspective. If you were moving throughout life at a low frequency of thought, and you're doing what common folk do, the 85% motherfuckers who just common shit, like your thoughts are no different than another. Just human shit in general. If you were being a good fucking human, you're very fucking predictable. pretty much. Especially, like I say, if you look like me, your actions are pretty much predictable. If you're being a good human, humanity is predictable. That's just at an intellectual level. You know what I'm saying? So that's my piece on that. Let's let the God build.
But if you don't understand yourself, you don't understand anybody else. And all you know what I mean with the snake is to watch a snake. And you know it's a snake, but you don't know it.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Because there's too much between, there's too much emotion.
There's too much
fear.
I mean?
I can watch like the cat I work for, you know what I mean? And he's gonna watch me to some extent. But we know each other. I would hypothesize that he knows me better because his game is running, mine's not. And that's what I've sort of always disagreed with your generation on. As long as his game is running, he obviously knows me because I'm playing. You understand? He said jump and I'm saying how high. Yeah. He knows me.
You may be right, but I would put it another way. I would suggest that since his game is running, he hasn't got to know you because his game is running.
Fuck the human shit for a little minute. They're saying the workforce in a sense is, or maybe they're going at it from the workforce perspective, or it could just be from the United States as a whole. They're saying that's the white man's game. It's his game. It's many different ways to perceive that. For one, don't tell me use a God is all this other shit that sound good. If you think somebody else is running your life, you know what I'm saying? Don't tell me about your soul. I don't want to hear about how you meditated and got A, B, and C, but the white man did this, or somebody did this. Who gives a fuck? If little shit like that can affect you, I don't give a fuck what you call yourself. It's foolish. You lying to yourself. You don't even believe it. You still reacting to shit. I don't have to react to everything. I choose what I want to react to. Quite frankly, I'm at a point in my, I guess I can say, yes, it's a form, it's consciousness, yeah, way of thought. You know what I'm saying? Reacting and judging everything is foolish. Why would I judge, even from a moralistic perspective? What are morals? Obviously, I'm not going to be hanging around with somebody who just beat the fuck out of their woman or smack the shit out of an old lady. Come on now, common sense shit, but that doesn't make that person less woke than the next motherfucker or less conscious than the next motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? Like, morality doesn't exist on a supreme level. But I'm not about to go in that right now. But what I do want people to understand is, if you call yourself this supreme deity or Osiris, Haru, I don't give a fuck what you call yourself. If you view yourself as the master mason of your fucking reality, you should not be saying this is somebody else's game. This is a fucking illusion happening within your own psyche. This is your fucking game. You choose how it's ran, how you want to play it, who's in this motherfucker and who's not. It's a fact that let me be specific. Atoms pop in and out of existence when they are not being observed by consciousness. By a person, to be exact. Not just a person, just any form of consciousness. Any form of consciousness. When the spirit is not observing any form of atom or a form of matter, it pops in and out of existence. It has to be observed. Light has to bounce off of objects that pretty much don't exist anyways, just in order for it to show in the physical. Literally, light waves are bouncing off shit right now in order for me to perceive what the fuck I'm looking at. And on top of that, not just for me to perceive it, but for it to even give me the information. There has to be fucking light right here, which is data. It's a form of data, information. You had a bunch of Gnostic texts. Not just Gnostic texts, it's a bunch of fucking texts. I can gain light, enlightenment. Why is it always light? Light is information, light is data, light is intelligence. Not just intellect, but intelligence. Ultimately, intellect is a low level of thought that has to do with the conscious mind and so forth. We're talking about intelligence, supreme intelligence, divine thought that goes into the subconscious mind, the intuitive thought, things of that nature. But I'm not going to drag this too long. I'm going to let the guys build.
No, you're part of the game he's running. He hasn't got to know you. I would think that one of the reasons that the Americans are in such trouble now is because the game is running. It was running up until only yesterday, really.
Would you believe today?
You know, and all of a sudden, through the American astonishment, the Americans have suddenly discovered that people in the world don't like them.
Yeah.
Now, I always knew that, because I didn't like some. You know, I love some.
They're not likable. Well, there's two people that are
unlikable.
unlikable.
Ain't likable.
And there's two people in the world that's not likable, a master and a slave.
Exactly.
You see?
Exactly. You know, we will never get precise.
She said there's two people in the world that are not likable, the master and the slave. I already explained to you what a slave is. First off, it's not about like and dislike. Let's not get stuck in duality. That's being stuck in duality is human shit. But to the humans listening to this shit, you make your decisions, you choose. I have nothing to do with that. But to those who actually take responsibility for not only their existence, but for their way of thinking. Well, shit, if you take responsibility for your existence, you take responsibility for everything before flesh and while in it. So that has to do with thoughts and actions as well. So yeah, let's just build on that real quick. The God is Giovanni said two people who are disliked the most, the master and the slave. A slave is, I guess we could do the polarity shit. I guess if you're going to dislike a slave, it's really some ego shit. Like, what perspective are we viewing it from? Like, a master gonna love his slave because it's his fucking slave, it's his property. Depends on what perspective we looking at it from. You see what I'm saying? So it really, we could be all day with this shit. Because from a master's perspective, he love his slave. The motherfucker do everything I tell him to do. Bring my shit on time. If not, punishment. You know what I'm saying? And the slave love his master. Shit, depending on the slave. You know what I'm saying? The slave might love his master. Some slaves love their master, some slaves hate him. You have people who love to fuck. You're a slave to lust. You know what I'm saying? You have people who love to smoke weed, drink liquor. You're a slave to that. If you can't divorce yourself from it, you're a slave to it. You have people who love to watch TV all day. They're a slave to it. You have people who want to, I don't fucking know, work out all day. You're a slave to working out. Too much of anything is not good. There must always be a middle point. You working out too much, shit. You too fleshly. The fuck you? What's the end goal? More humanity? You know what I'm saying? What you gonna give me the science on what happens when you work out? You gonna give me some science on what happens when you work out, the different shit that happens? See, I know what happened. Chill the fuck out for a minute. Go do something mental. Well, see, even that's relative. See, that's the beauty of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So many aspects of perception. I'm only giving you one way to view this shit. Because from another motherfucker perspective, we we are in the universal subconscious mind as we speak. This experience in itself, although it's physical, is mental. So that's why it's viewed as an illusion, because it's happening within your mind, not the brain, your mind. This is just a slower vibratory rate. The body, as we speak, is degenerating and regenerating. Why you think you cut yourself, you heal? That's a form of it. But even on a microscopic level, there's fucking entities that make up my fucking flesh. Word is born. It's entities that make up the organ. You can find all of this in the Goetia Evocation Volume 2. They break this shit down. And the other Goetias. This is science. This is ancient science. It ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta read. But the master, she said the master is hated. I guess a slave will hate the master because he has one. He never stepped up, or she never stepped up to her or his power to become a master. So they're envious of the master. It's perspective. Why be on either side? Why not just be a student of life? Why not be a master fucking student? That's what I'm mastering learning. That's what I'm the master of. Master of learning. That's why I forgot the saying, but some shit about being a jack of all trades. It's not necessarily physically, but that's beneficial as well. You know what I'm saying? Do as you please. I don't know what motherfuckers come here to do, but mentally be a jack of all trades. Read different forms of literature. Read different mythologies. See how they correlate. Read different papyrus. See how it correlates. Read different forms of source information. See how it correlates with others. You know what I'm saying? Hear other people's perspective on the source information. See how it correlates with the next. And then check, after you get done with all of that, check in with your divine self. And that's when you're going to find out the true fucking answers. I'm going to get back to the bill.
Categories for that very loaded statement, but that is where the truth is.
Yeah. How did you like them? So the question, for me, the question has always been power.
Yes.
And for like you all, the question has been morals. I never wanted to be the most moral person in the world.
I agree. I know.
I would sell my soul. You know what I mean? What does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Mm-hmm. The world. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The world. That's what it profits.
I know.
So you take the soul. At least the thing that's spiritual. Take the world, but give me Jesus.
Yes.
Y'all can have Jesus. Yes. Give me the world. Even though it's losing 25% of its energy every 100 years or something ridiculous.
Oh, please don't believe all.
Ignorance. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. You know what I'm saying? She said, y'all can have Jesus, give me the world. I don't know her perspective on it, but I do know I know about the reality I'm from. I know the reality I'm currently in. You know what I'm saying? And that's the physical. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the physical at the moment. And this world is illusionary. I don't think she said she motherfuckers might say they want something but don't really understand the fullness of what they're saying. That's the grace that God has to give, and the sympathy God has to give to the ignorant. Because when you're ignorant of shit, you say shit like that. Take Jesus. Jesus is fucking simple. I'm not finna politic with anybody about believing that. There's a book The 16 Crucified Saviors. I'll put on the website after I do this video. Great fucking book. Breaking down the different Christ-like figures, most of them before Christianity was even invented, which was invented in Kemet. Just another mythology to help motherfuckers get an understanding of the hidden God within you, which is basically within everybody with a fucking soul. Christ is an aspect of self that must be reawakened. You go through death on the cross, which is your fucking body. You know what I'm saying? Christ raises the dead by what? Enlightening motherfuckers. What does dead mean in ancient texts? From an ancient mindset, what does dead mean? Dead means you don't know who the fuck you are, let alone what you are. You are dead. You walk around here thinking that this shit is really fucking real. You thinking what fucking clothes you put on matters. In the sense of, I have the nicest designer. Like, really take the, when I say this shit, I want you to really have ears of understanding when I say this shit. You know what I'm saying? And you must have discernment and a great level of wisdom. When you focus on things of the flesh, it's foolish. You know what I'm saying? You're considered dead by focusing on those type of thought forms. Because that's all it is, different thought forms that you create in your psyche and say, this matters. The shirt I put on matters. Obviously, depending on the situation, if we're having a social gathering, please have discernment. I have to get this designer. I need the Gucci. You need the Gucci? You dead nigga. Now, if you want to get it because you like the style, whatever the fuck the case may be, make sure your heart is in the right place. That's what I'm getting at. Make sure your heart is in the right place. Get it because, hey, I like that shit. That's smooth. You know what I'm saying? I got these glasses because I've never seen nobody wear no glasses. They gold, motherfucking, my eyebrows showing, it's not taking up my whole fucking face. I fuck with the glasses. I don't give a fuck about what it costs, the brand. These motherfuckers clean. I give 2 fucks about the brand. It's about what I like when I'm dressing up my fucking avatar. You know what I'm saying? Not, this type of glasses. You fucking fool. That's irrelevant shit. I'm able to get certain shit in life because I did the work. You know what I'm saying? Not just on a physical level, but shit, if I had to do it physically, it had to first be done mentally anyways. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not going to hold this too long because I do want them to continue the conversation. Just understand that the mind is a terrible thing to waste. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know where Nikki's mindset was when she said, give me the world and let go of Jesus. 'Cause Christ just means to be anointed, to be aware of not only what you are, but who you are. Christ arisen from the dead. Christ arisen from ignorance. Something that motherfucker didn't know, you now know. It's a constant journey of dying and rebirth. Because there's always going to be a realization that's going to change how you think. When your mind changes, that's when you begin to live. But it has to change in a sense where you have power over your life, not whoever the fuck you thought had power over your life. I'm gonna let them build.
don't believe everything you hear.
No, but I'm saying that's not my concern, you know?
I know.
Even though it's polluted, ugly, dirty, give it to me.
Speaking...
Or I will take it or not.
But speaking, I agree with you. I agree with you. But speaking for myself, but also speaking as representative of my generation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably safer to speak only for myself, really. You know, I know that in my own case, what I felt and still feel, perhaps in a different way, but what I felt very strongly in the years, for example, when we all were marching down those dusty highways with Martin. Look, I left the church when I was 17 years old, you know, and I'm not really been to a church since, except, you know, when I had to go for various fundraising rallies or this or that. And I was not exactly the kind of Christian that Martin was, if I could be described as Christian at all.
It's hard to be the kind of Christian he was.
But I liked him. I loved him, in fact. And I knew that something was happening through him. And my concern was, yes, the world. But I'd seen what white people had done to the world. And I'd seen what white people had done to their children. You know, because in gaining the world, they had lost something.
A lot.
You know, they'd lost the ability to love their own children.
No, the ability to love themselves.
Which is the same thing, you know. And I didn't want that to happen, if I may say so, to you. It was not a matter of morals so much.
The ability to love the world is the ability to love yourself. That's because to truly love yourself, you understand that judging that which is around you is foolish, because you have love for the internal self. So it's because you love yourself, it's gonna reflect externally, holistically. There's no reason for me to judge another. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the fuck that person came here to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know where they at mentally. They might be at a level to where that's a new level for them. They on step 2. They was just step 1 fucking 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying? They are at a new level in life. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Not every fruit on the apple tree, not every apple ripens at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with people's minds. Not every mind is going to progress and even digress at the same rate. You know what I'm saying? So that's a hell of a perspective she just gave. Just to add some more to it is, when you fall in love with the internal world, it depends on the person, but you begin to fall in love with the true reality so much that sometimes you might neglect your prison, which is your body. You know what I'm saying? Like, you begin to understand that my spirit is trapped in something that doesn't exist. This is a form of death. I wake up in death every day, yet I live. That's why in the Kemetic pantheon they say Osiris is the god of the dead. You know, Osiris just it's just an allegory. You know, for an aspect of you. You're Osiris. If you have a soul, you're considered Osiris. So you are the god or goddess of the dead. You know what I'm saying? Flesh, the dead. You know what I'm saying? Your state of death is not knowing who the fuck you are. But some motherfuckers might say just being on earth in general is a state of death. Just being in the fact that you're in flesh is a state of death. You know what I'm saying? So it varies based on what lens of perception we're viewing it from. But I'm going to let them keep building.
As a matter of being forced in my own case to keep suggesting that though it was indeed a matter of power without The word morals is misleading. Power without some sense of oneself is simply another kind of sterility. And the black people would then become exactly what white people have become. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a danger.
You know, I also accept this, that danger is not up to me to tell anybody how to run. You know, I can only speak as what I am. I'm a kind of poet. And if I'm a kind of poet, then I'm responsible from my own point of view to the people who produced me and the people who will come after me. You know, so that when the Holocaust comes, and it will come, you know, eventually, no matter how simple black and white terms may be today, life is not that simple. And sooner or later, if I do my work as I should do it, when I'm needed, I'll be there. You know what I mean?
I don't know if the people listening, but I know what you mean. Because that
True power is knowledge of oneself. I've been preaching to the choir since we started this motherfucker. Knowing who you are, that's true power. When you truly know who you are, don't identify with the flesh. You don't know me. You don't know Raboni Ra. You don't know me. Don't know me at all. Even if you knew my government name, you still don't fucking know me. You only know me based on this. Y'all get to see me from a lens of perception, which is uniquely yours, but you see me on camera. But understand, this is how I communicate. This is how I truly think. I could go in even more in depth on my perception on a lot of shit. My perception and just how I perceive life in general, I'm going to sum it up for you so you can really know who I am. Fuck humanity. I'm pro-fuck humanity. That don't mean I'm saying fuck humanity in the sense of fuck the flesh, I'm finna go do some crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? No. Fuck humanity as in I just want people to know I'm not disregarding what I became. It's more so I'm understanding that which I am. You know what I'm saying? I understand what I am and who I am. But I'm not disregarding what I became. I just understand my true self. That's knowledge of self. Understanding what I am and who I am. And I'm not the flesh. Goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Don't identify with anything. The reason I say not to identify with shit from my perspective is because when you identify with something, you put a ceiling on it. If you God, God is a thought that was constructed by man. That was constructed by man for an understanding. It's best to just say, I am who the fuck I am. KRS-One I see a lot of people didn't watch, what was that I posted? The workout vlog, Titan vlog. I see y'all don't really fuck with it like that. It's understandable, but he was talking some good shit in that video. KRS-One said, and I have to do the knowledge on this, but the guy was like, when certain Europeans came into Africa, they would ask, what is your name? And the guy would be standing, just for the sake of conversation, he'd be standing by a tree. He'd say, I am man next to tree. What do you mean? What do you mean, name? I am man next to cattle. I am who I am. What do you mean a name? You want me to identify with something? The fall wasn't, we was falling, but we wasn't at that level to where, call me this, call me that. One of my master teachers, peace to him, he already made the transition, you know what I'm saying? He's well. I'm happy for him, you know. But he said in one of the lectures, What'd he say? Fuck, why I just lose that thought? It'll come back to me. I got happy just the fact that he made the transition and shit. That's the ultimate salvation. You know what I'm saying? To complete your job on earth is the ultimate salvation. It's a difference when you are dead and your flesh dies. Those who I speak of live in flesh. And when their flesh died, they still lived. Shit just brings happiness to me, but I'm gonna get back to this.
Most important, I think that I do, because I think the most important thing for any of us is when what comes, or when what we know will comes, that we have the strength to say, yeah, it can.
That's right, it can.
You know,
It can.
and I'm going to stay in my apartment on 94th, and you'll be in Nice, but we'll say, yeah.
And we'll also be able to ride out the storm, but what is more important is not so much the riding out of the storm for you, Nikki, and me, Jimmy, you know. But in my mind's eye, there's always that kid. He's going to be here when you're gone.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Hopefully.
and when I am long gone. And from my point of view, it is about the children. It is about the children. We have to give the children something, which in a way was, after all, given to us. Though
I'm gonna say this about the children shit. As long as you focusing on what the fuck you gotta do, a child is a sponge. The child gonna follow what the fuck you doing. So if you moving unwise, unexact, in other words, you not on point, you ain't got your shit together, the child seeing how you behaving, the child like, hell no, fuck all of that. If a child isn't content with what they're seeing and like, I don't think that should, because it's all, you gotta understand, everybody has intuition. You're not fucking special, nigga. Because you know how to say God and Goddess, Hotep, nigga, or what the fuck it is. Everybody has intuition. Spirits have fucking intuition. You know what I'm saying? So, a child has intuition. Like, that's not, maybe I shouldn't follow what mom or pop is doing. I don't like the outcome of it. I don't like how they displaying A, B, and C. So a child gonna go about it differently. But if you got your shit together and you talk to them, you know, I was wrong. I should have never did that, or this is, or you just go about some shit and it's wise and exact. It's on point. The outcome is flawless. But when you wrong and you sit down and the kid observes it, I apologize. I couldn't make it. I should have told you earlier. Things sometime happen. I just want you to understand, next time I won't make a promise that I'm not able to make. That was wrong on my behalf. And I'll make it up to you, son. You want to get some ice cream? Cool. Simple shit like that. Very simple. But that shows humility and that shows growth. Damn, Pops just apologized to me for not coming through on some shit that he said he was going, word was bond on. You know what I'm saying? That's a level of maturity. Damn, son, my bad, I couldn't make it. Ooh. No, chill the fuck out. Talk to him eye to eye. Let him know the sincerity of what the fuck you just did. Because words supposed to be bond. So if Pop's just throwing around words and this shit not bonding, yet he keep making these promises, shit, anybody say anything to me, shit, motherfucker give me a promise, I'ma think, shit, 2-3 different scenarios to get this shit done. Because 9 times out of 10, the child gonna grow up thinking, oh, ain't nobody gonna keep their word. My pops never kept his word. Just some simple shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily, it's not about the child on some real shit. Not even necessarily. It's not about the child. It's about you. Once you refine what the fuck you need to refine, the child is going to observe, because that's what a child is, a sponge. They come in here with conscious, Wipe clean. Fuck is you talking about? They trying to learn any fucking thing you put in front of them. So be mindful of what you put in their psyche. Be mindful of shit that you doing on your free time that the kid may come in and observe. My brother told me something that really sticks with me. Things you do in the dark comes to the light. I think about that all the fucking time because it puts me in the mindset of always being the observer of my life decisions, my thoughts. Always observe. In any and everything I do, I observe it from a God's perspective, from a pharaonic perspective, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Because my mentality is, would I do this if others was around? Would I still be reading this book if others were around? Would I say that if my mom or somebody was around? You know what I'm saying? Would I do that if A, B, and C was around? Have that mentality. Always understand that you are observing yourself. Even when you think that you just going through life. No, you observing yourself. You might not be aware that you're observing yourself, but you are. Some people only notice that in reflection. Instead of reflecting later, I reflect in the now. Make sure I'm always consciously aware of not only what's coming out of my mouth, but the thoughts that formulate what's coming out of my mouth. I'm thinking before I speak. I'm thinking before I go forth about an action, whatever the action may be. That's how you, and I guess in a sense, impact your children, if that's your goal as a, father, mother, whatever the case may be. I really just speak to fathers right now, but I guess, if you have discernment, the women can use that information as well for raising their children. But mostly talking to men. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. I'm gonna let the guys build for a little bit longer, then we're gonna shut it down.
Learn how to translate it. Because your kid will be moving in a very different world than the one in which I grew up, which you won't know anything about at all, or the world in which you grew up, which will be remote for him, and yet he comes out of it and has got to carry it much further than you or I will be able to carry it.
He's got to have respect for it, but not be trapped by it.
Precisely. You have to both give it to him and liberate him from it.
Yes. And I think that kind of thing has been lacking. Like, I think one of the nicest things that we created almost as a generation, and it wasn't us because Martin Delaney and those people were way before us, but just the fact that we could say, hey, I don't like white people.
Mm-hmm. It's a great liberation.
It was a beginning of course, being able to like them.
Exactly.
Exactly. Which, of course, it upsets them, but that's their problem.
Yeah, but their problem really is a kind of, we were talking earlier before the show began about the kind of incomprehension in somebody's face, and you try to describe what is to you a very simple situation.
Right.
Like people don't like going to jail. And you see the man's face, and he looks astonished. What? People don't like going to jail? And then you pull back.
You mean so?
Does that really go on? And you live this all your life. Yeah. And what you watch is that he knows it really. He doesn't think that you know it. He doesn't think anybody will tell him. And if it comes in, as we were saying earlier, if he allows that to enter into his guts, he's a very different person. He may explode. He doesn't know what will happen if he allows this apprehension of someone else's experience to enter into him.
Right, because he's perpetuating his experience.
And this is the crisis of the age. This is what Malcolm really meant when he said that white is a state of mind.
Malcolm said that. Fuck.
Okay. I won't argue that. On a certain level.
Fuck what she's talking about. Respectfully, just everything is a state of mind. Being black is a state of mind. You know what I'm saying? Being a God is a state of mind. We just had this conversation. Fuck, You know what I'm saying? There's people, you gotta think about it. There's people who you can identify as a fucking book now. Is that not a state of mind? I identify as a book. I identify as a doorknob. That's a fucking state of mind. What the fuck are you? To even say that, to even try to rebuttal some shit like that is folly. Everything is a state of mind. Every fucking thing in life is a state of mind. Happiness is a state of mind. Sadness is a state of mind. A master is a slave of mind. Excuse me. A master is a state of mind. See, I say a master is a slave of mind. That's to an extent, absolutely. Because you saying you master, this is your level. You know what I'm saying? If you a master, that's why I say master student. Because a student, see, it's kind of, I tell you master, yet I'm a student. A student learns. That's what a student is. A student is an initiate. I'm constantly being initiated into different forms of thought. I'm the master of different forms of initiation through thought, of thought, or through thought, however you want to perceive it, shit. Just thinking differently. Not being married to any idea. That's what a master does. A master of science. You're married to science. Master of algebra. You're married to algebra. Master of cooking. You're married to cooking. A master student is not married to anything, because I am constantly learning new information. Bringing it back to white being a mindset. Not only is white a mindset, black is a mindset, Mexican is a mindset. In Gnosticism, it talks about these 4 root races. I don't really get hung up on it. Of course, you see the Cushite, which is the Kemite. You see another type of African, and you see the Caucasian, I guess the Asian race, and some other type of race. Well, that could be it. Yeah, that might be it. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. And even saying that they're a race, human race is a race. It's just we talking about genetics now. These are different variations of the human race. You know what I'm saying? Even in that, it's different forms of different genetic structures within humanity. But as a whole, it's the human race. You see what I'm saying? The mindset of a white mindset is something that has to be programmed. The fact that didn't exist at a certain point in time, and that began to exist, it's a mindset. White is a mindset. Black mindset is. Word is born. You ask somebody, what's the difference from a Negro mindset and a black mindset? What's the difference from a Asiatic mindset and a Nation of Islam mindset? What's the difference from an occult mindset and a Hotep mindset? You see what I'm saying? We still talking about the same black niggas. So it truly is a mindset. And shit, it might even be some other races. Word is born. Excuse me. See, I'm still breaking program. I'm talking about races. Just for the sake of conversation, races. You know what I'm saying? But I understand I hope y'all understand where I'm coming from as well, but different different shades of human, different genetic structures of humans. That's really what it is. It's your genome that creates your physical appearance and also some other attributes on the internal level as well. But I'm not about to build on that. See, this is a very powerful fucking book because a lot of lower laws are surpassed using the highest law. It's a great fucking book. But I'm gonna let them build maybe about 10 more minutes and then I'm gonna shut it down, man. I just wanted to speak my piece on that. Because everything's a mindset is basically what I'm getting at. White is a mindset, black's a mindset, Asian, so forth. It's a mindset. It's a way of thought that somebody said this is how you should behave based on statistics or whatever the social norms may be. It's a mindset. It's a paradigm that you have to either, it's up to you. I'm nobody's savior. I only saved myself. So for me personally, I follow no fucking paradigm. You know what I'm saying? I have no specific way of doing anything. I'm constantly changing, let alone following a fucking statistic. That's folly. You know what I'm saying? So you have a choice. You could be a slave and keep a nigga mindset or a Negro mindset, whatever the fuck the case may be. Or you could free yourself from eternal bondage. You can have eternal salvation and create whatever you choose.
I tend to be parochial, for one thing. And I tend to care about Afro-Americans, which I would define as the sons and daughters of slaves and slave owners. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I have.
That doesn't, by the way, sound very parochial to me.
It's very parochial because I don't care about my third world brothers and sisters and things like that I'm sure I should. But as we...
You mean you're responsible for a certain situation?
I just can't deal with it.
Yes,
I think that if everybody dealt with their own little situation, yes. If I deal with my block and you deal with your block, we'll have two good...
And Malcolm said that too.
Yeah. So when we deal with white as being like a state of... Well, Malcolm said everything, which I would grant. I mean, really? he encompassed. But as we begin to try to deal, you know what I mean, with the world, we find that a lot of things break down. And we find that frequently a white face goes with a white mind. Mm-hmm. Occasionally, a black face goes with a white mind. Mm-hmm. Very seldom, a white face will have a black mind. But we find the frequent situation is a white face has a white mind.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean? So for the few mistakes that you would make, it's unfortunate.
No, I know.
You know what?
I wouldn't.
To me, it's unfortunate.
I wouldn't argue that at all.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't argue that at all. No, it doesn't make any difference to me. As I said once somewhere, you know, that a cop is a cop.
Well, cops are white.
And you know, and he may be a very nice man, but I haven't got the time to figure that out. You know, all I know is he's got a uniform and a gun. You know, and I have to relate to him that way. You know, really that's the only way to relate to him at all. Because one of us is, one of us may have to die.
One of us, you know, in New York, there's a big campaign going on to humanize the policemen, and they have billboards upstate, and they have a picture of a big cop bending over this little blonde girl, and the sign say, and some people call him Pig. And I wanted to buy a billboard. I told a friend of mine, I want to buy a billboard and show this big cop and this 14-year-old kid with 30 bullets in him and saying some people call him Peacemaker.
There's so many ways to build on this. We could talk about the law, cause, and effect, and then the sub-law of that is karma. Motherfuckers get what they get. Karma debt is passed on from one lifetime to another until you either rise above that law or you just get what the fuck you get. Well, you get what you put out in either the life that you currently have or the one prior. Or we could view this shit from a perspective of have more discernment when you go about earthly matters. Be aware of your surroundings. Or you could just say, shit, raise your frequency to a level ain't shit finna touch you anyways. Honestly, you raise your frequency. You impervious to everything. I'm a living testament of it. You know. Another way to look at it, let's just say that does happen to somebody. 15 bullet holes in them. Good for them. They escape hell. We need to do a fucking ritual for them. Help them make the transition. Don't come back to this motherfucker. Hopefully your ass do something else other than Earth. The fuck? It's time to rejoice. I don't know what book it was I read, but when a child is born, you are mourned in the non-physical realm. In the physical realm, you are celebrated. The dead celebrate your death while the living mourn. How unfortunate. So it's many ways of perceiving this. You can have your morality intact, view this shit as a fucking human, view this shit as a god. But there are those who come out down there to balance out shit, so that's gonna work itself out any way it go. We got people like Nation of Islam, Black Panthers. Yeah, I would say other people, but they're branches of Nation of Islam. So shit like that, they just help bring that structure to humanity. So I definitely fuck with these different organizations that do so because it's beneficial for people. People, for real. It's beneficial for people. On a human standpoint, a humane standpoint, having people like that on Earth to do the work of protesting, fighting, all of that is beneficial for humanity. Word is born. Word is born. But that's my piece on that. I'm not about to keep building on this. It's a great conversation. I recommend y'all check it out. Hopefully y'all gain light from this. What's this? An hour and a little over an hour video. I'm about to gain some knowledge. Shit, hop in the shower, lay it down. I got shit to take care of myself. But just continue to gain light. You know what I'm saying? It's so much information out here. And it's free. I have a website full with books. It's no fucking reason for you to not read and gain information about not only who you are, but what you are. You know what I'm saying? So continue to gain light. I would say peace and blessings, but a lot of y'all need to destroy a lot of shit that is keeping you in humanity. So now I'm gonna just say destruction. I ain't even gonna. Destruction leads to peace. You know what I'm saying? Destroy your humanity, and then you'll attain peace, everlasting peace, boundless bliss. But first, you must destroy your humanity. Peace to the gods.
Walking my own path. A follower would never understand a leader. Life a bitch, but I still won't mistreat her.
Transfer light to my kin. So